This episode of Cajun Classic Cars TV is brought to you by Vicari Auction Company, specializing in live classic car auctions. Let our 20 years of auto auction experience make buying or selling your dream car a reality. Welcome to another edition of Cajun Classic Cars TV. I'm Flying Brian, and today we're going to look at a great collection with Pete. Tell us what we're looking at today, my friend.
We're looking at a collection of pre-production prototype Corvettes, 1963.
We're going to talk about those Corvettes and learn a little bit about pre-production. Coming up on Cajun Classic Cars TV.
See if you don't think this is the most exciting car in America today. Know what makes this car so exciting besides its obvious style? It's the Corvette's not-so-obvious engineering. The things you feel but don't see. The things that led Car Life magazine to award Corvette its coveted Engineering Excellence Award. This same spirit of engineering, this idea of special design for special needs. The cars that keep Chevrolet going great in 63 at your Chevrolet dealers.
Welcome to a special edition of Cajun Classic Cars TV. We traveled to Gonzales, Louisiana to meet with Pete Vicari. Our expectation was we were going to see 3 pre-production 1963 Corvettes. So when I asked Pete, hey, we're going to look at the cars, he says, which cars? I said, the 3 Corvettes. He says, you mean 5. From the time we scheduled to the time we arrived, he had acquired 2 more. This episode is more like a prequel, sort of like in the movies, the story before the story. Because these are not just any 1963 Corvettes. These are pre-production prototype vehicles. And the coolest thing about them is they're sequentially numbered, -1.
So, Pete, for the audience that doesn't quite understand, tell us when you said pre-production on your classic Vette collection. Tell us what you're talking about.
Okay, when 1963 is a different body style. 62 is different. Okay, it's a totally new car concept. Independent rear end. So when GM were trying to figure out what to do, they would make what's called pre-production. There was a total of 23 of these cars built. A lot of them were used for crash tests and different studies and stuff like that. So this is before production.
Okay.
That went to the public.
Designing a car is a complex process. It involves many stages. First, there's the concept, basically the idea. Then there is the sketching and digital design. Or back in the day when the 63 Corvette was designed, somebody drew a picture on a paper. Once designs are finalized, full-scale clay models are sculpted to provide a tangible representation of the car. It allows designers to look at proportions and make refinements before moving to the prototype stage. Then there's engineering and structural design, where the engineers work on the car's mechanical and structural components. And then the interior is designed for comfort, functionality, and user experience. Materials, dashboard layout, and other things are carefully planned, or in some cases, as you'll hear in this episode, taken from other cars and parts they've got around the factory. And there's several other processes, but basically once they design the car and the engineers and designers think, hey, this is kind of what we're looking at, they take it upstairs to the big guys who will thumbs up or thumbs down on the design or whether they want to spend the money on it.
These cars are different than the production.
Yeah.
Because they built them for management to decide what they want to do with them. Like carpets are different. The fuel units are different. I mean, there's just so many features about these cars that are different than the production.
So if we put a 63 production side by side with these, we'd probably see some remarkable differences.
Oh yeah, you definitely would.
Yeah.
You definitely would. I mean, when I first put my eyes on this car, I thought they were like, wow, why so crude looking? I mean, they did a bad job in the production, but the guy educated me, and that's what needs to happen. We need to educate people about how the pre-production cars were literally built.
Well, people don't understand when they get in their vehicle, whether it's a classic car or they get in a new Hyundai or whatever, what it took to get from 0 to 10.
Right.
And
every manufacturer
Yeah.
built pre-productions to figure out what management and what the public was going to like.
Right.
And then they blend that all together, and then they start building. But these were hand built. Production cars were not literally hand-built panels. They were mass-produced panels.
The 1963 Chevrolet Corvette, known as the C2 or Stingray, was a groundbreaking model that introduced the second generation of the Corvette lineup. It featured a completely new design, improved handling, and enhanced performance, making it one of the most iconic American sports cars ever produced.
So, Pete, tell us a little bit about what started your love of cars, man.
Oh, it started when I was 12 years old. I bought a 1940 Ford when I was 12 years old. And my brother-in-law and I and my dad worked on it and got it together. And because I had two older sisters, I had two older brother-in-laws. They had all really bad cars. I mean, you know, one of them had a 65 Hemi Belvedere lightweight. Another one had a Nova, you know, 4-speed Nova, really nice cars. So I was always around older guys that had the cars, and that was the influence.
Well, that probably helped you because you had somebody to help you work on and then learn a little bit about.
Yeah, my brother-in-laws did a lot of it. My dad was always busy doing something, but my brother-in-law, they would help me, you know, get it together. And we got it together. I mean, I bought it as a basket case. There was nothing there. And we put it all together, and I was 15 years old. I remember, you know, driving on the road.
So, Pete, we're in front of the car that started it all, so to speak, for your pre-production lineup. We're at number 13, right?
Right. It's actually VIN number 13. This is actually the second earliest split window 63 exists today.
That's amazing. And is silver, I'm saying silver, but it probably has a fancier name.
Yeah, silver and blue interior.
Silver and blue interior. And this was the original color?
Yes. This is a number matching color car when it was built.
Show us some of the features. Let's start with the motor here.
The motor is a 360 horsepower, small block, fuel injection for the management to decide what they were going to do. You realize this is not a production, this is sand cast fuel unit. The cover, the plenum, everything is sand cast.
And I notice the logo's missing.
The flags are missing. And the reason why is because that Winter Foundations is the people that made it for GM. So it's just for testing and to show to get approval from GM. They just put their logo there. So production cars, that's gone, and the cross flags are there. So also, the production cars, these tubes were routed differently. They follow this line here, production. They chrome. But for pre-production prototypes, they just used this aluminum tubing. So management said, okay, we like the way this is run. Let's make them follow them together and make them chrome. And that's how they did. All the inner fenders were handmade. The body was all handmade. That's why if you focus in on it, you can really feel like patches. It's really rough.
Well, I mentioned that earlier off camera that it looks like somebody put the fiberglass tape on it.
Yeah, well, it was molded on a buck of wood, and the underside of it is smooth. So this is the side where they would lay in the fiberglass, and they didn't dress it up because this car wasn't really intended to go to the public. You know. So.
What other features on the outside can you tell us about this number 13?
Two bar spinners. Pre-production prototype had 2 bar, not 3 bars.
Now there's a story behind that. Tell us why.
From what I understand, and I had a copy of it and I misplaced it, Daytona Wire Wheels filed a lawsuit against GM against patent infringement. Because if you look on the Jaguar that had all the Daytona Wire Wheels, they were 2 bars. And they felt like it was a patent infringement. That's how they were delayed into the production of it was like mid-63 before they came out, but they were 3 bar, not 2.
So I'm assuming that means GM lost the suit.
They settled some kind of way, and they had to change the design. And also, the production cars, when you put the wheel on, there's a hub, and you put the wheel on, and you tighten it up. There's pins that hold that 2 bar from coming off. Where the originals were spline and gear driven, it was a different style wheel.
Wow.
It was almost identical to the Daytona Wire wheel.
That is cool. Well, let's look inside this great blue interior here.
So the console is just smooth. It's not They don't have the ribs in it like the production cars. The carpet is a salt and pepper. Speaker is up higher. It's not flush with the dash. Where they lowered it for production cars that they were flush.
It is amazing all the little nuances, Pete, that they would have done that to us didn't seem like it would make a difference. Flush, not flush. But it's amazing when it got down to the nth degree. I guess all the research and the guys upstairs said, no, do this. And sure, I'm sure some of it came down to cost as much as anything.
Exactly, but when you got management, you know, that one guy's got an idea what it's supposed to be like, another one's got another one, and they have these management meetings in the engineering department, and everybody's tug of war how they want things done. Ultimately, they gotta somehow or another compromise and get the cars out. You know what I mean? But there's all kinds of things. Like I keep saying, the production cars, if you put one next to here, you start seeing all the differences. I can't remember them all. I got them in a file. There must be like 45 different items that are different on these cars. I mean, as we go around, I'll remember them, but I can't tell you every one right now.
So Pete, we just got through meeting number 13. Tell us a quick story about how 14 is not here.
Well, we've got the registry. We know where all the cars are.
Right.
What exists. All of a sudden, 14 pops up on eBay. And it was a repo VIN tag that somebody put on a car. So
it was a scam.
Yeah, it was a scam, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But let's move on to 15. And so 15's over here.
15 is in the middle.
Okay.
15 was delivered only with a convertible top, no hard top. Then 16 and 17 had two tops.
Now, is there anything particularly different body-wise, interior-wise, from these ones, from that first number 13 that you showed us?
Yeah. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do and how they're going to come out in production. So there's differences in all these cars. Like the door panels have a notch here, where they were going to run the interior all the way. This is the original interior. It kind of shrunk a little bit, but this used to come right to here. Productions are squared off, and the interior actually stops there. So they were trying to figure out what to do, and it makes every car has some unique feature that's different. Again, you have the smooth console. These bezels are much thicker than the productions. So when they were making them, the 16 has thicker bezels, 15 has a little bit narrower, thinner, to try to figure out what they liked. And management would approve, you know, do this one, don't do the thick ones, do the shallow ones, because if you're on an angle, you can't see because it's different angles. The clock's different. Again, the speaker box is sticking up higher. The glove box different. The button is recessed. It's not just a round button on the surface. It's cut in, recessed into the door.
Drivability-wise, is there anything different from a pre-production to a production car, or they're ready to go?
The chassis-wise, I think they're all the same. They were built different boats, different ways. The way the Corvette emblem is mounted on this car is different compared to production. Those emblems are also sand casted. All of the chrome is now, what you see as chrome it's all sand casted and polished. But the chassis are basically the same.
Pete, had there not been intervention from a guy like you, helping automotive history with these cars and rebuilding them and things like that, considering that they were made sort of as prototypes, for lack of a better word, I mean, would they still be here? I mean, you talked about things being put together with putty and things like, but did they eventually need some intervention anyway?
Yeah, they when I got them, they needed a lot of help because they were old cars. You know, back then people didn't know what was collectible. So they were old cars and we had to get in, luckily they were all there. It just needed, totally frame off, restored. And the guys that did it for me are very knowledgeable into the pre-production and prototype cars.
It reminds me of when I worked for the legendary Grand Ole Opry, and people would come to us from museums and they'd say, boy, we'd love to have this from 1945 or 1962. And I'd go, we don't have it. But you're the Grand Ole Opry. And I said, you don't know you're making history when you're making history.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have the Richard Sugnick was the GM photographer, and we have his original black and white photographs of how the car was built on the assembly line, because he was showing management, you know, what they were doing. And this is actually 13 being built in 1962. This picture right here is actually that car, 16, because when this is the original photograph on the assembly line, and you see this, what they would do is put some putty to glue a clamp onto the firewall to hold electrical wires and stuff. Well, when we restored the car years later, we took the same picture. Okay, so we imposed it. You could tell it's all the same. So this is car 16 being built.
So Pete, you've got some great shots there. Appreciate you sharing that part of automotive history. But you're getting ready to sort of grow those. You're going to take those and you're going to blow them up, and you're going to sort of make a mural in a little museum you're working on.
Yeah, we're building it next door right now behind my house. We're having these original photographs blown up to 3 foot by 5 foot, and we're going to tell the story from the beginning, showing just the chassis, how it's been put together, when the engine goes in, then the body, and it's going to tell the whole story of these cars, and they'll all be there lined up. And there's audio to be narrated also.
Pete, it's awesome to meet you, man. It's wonderful to share stories with a car lover like yourself. And folks, stay tuned, because you'll probably be hearing a lot more about Pete and his business, which we'll share with you further on Cajun Classic Cars TV.
Corvette. Corvette.